Hello, everyone. We're going to be starting in just 1 minute. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today on working with influencers this holiday season and why 2020 presents new challenges and opportunities in the influencer space. My name is Paul Kahn, and I'm the SVP of sales here at Upfluence, and we're excited to speak with you today. And we're very lucky to have Kate Oakley, who is an account executive at Social Styles Marketing, with us today. Just give me 1 second. Little quick technical issue. But we're very excited to have Kate Oakley with us today, who is an account executive at Social Styles Marketing, a health and wellness marketing agency in Florida. Kate, do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure, thanks, Paul. Hey everyone, my name is Kate, as Paul said. I'm an account executive with Social Styles Marketing. We are a social media marketing agency that empowers wellness brands. We're based out of South Florida, but we do serve clients globally. A little bit about me. I have a background of about 5+ years in social media marketing and digital marketing. I am a New Englander at heart, but I did transfer down here to South Florida about 10 years ago. So I'm really excited to be on today's webinar and look forward to talking about influencers in the upcoming holiday season.
Okay, great. And we also have Selena Danahy with us, who is a solutions architect here in the data squad at Upfluence. Selena, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Paul. Hi, everyone. My name is Selena Danahy. As Paul mentioned, I'm a solutions architect here for the data team. And this means that I work on the agency side, helping clients identify influential customers in order to run campaigns that increase retention as well as overall customer lifetime value. I've been working at Upfluence for over 2 years now, and throughout this time, I've worked on a variety of campaigns, everything from beauty to craft cocktails to esports and gaming. My current team that I'm on now really focuses on e-commerce brands, and especially with the holidays approaching, now is the time for these brands to really take advantage of the significant uptick in online sales. So I'm excited to be here today to discuss how we can really get your campaign kickstarted.
Okay, great. So we're going to jump right in. The first thing we want to talk about are all of the different things we're going to cover today. The first is we're going to make sure that we understand changing consumer habits, especially around 2020, the COVID pandemic and things like that. We're going to speak about how to use influencers this season, how to create a perfect plan and a winning timeline, what you need to do to find influencers that are going to work best for you, and how to leverage those influencers that fit your brand. And if we have time, we're going to start to talk about where influencer marketing is heading in 2021, and we'll answer some of your questions in the chat. So this is a holiday season like none before, right? We need to understand why things are changing. So these are some big numbers here, but 76% of shoppers are intending not to buy things in stores this year. They're intending to buy things online and online only, and 57% of shoppers are intending to begin earlier than normal, which is good for us. And last things, we have 51% of shoppers who are going to ship things directly to their family. So people aren't even going to get to see their family. That's what that number says. It's a little tough, right? But we have to understand what that looks like. It's going to continue to be a season of peak demand in the e-commerce space. And we really want to help you think about how you can utilize digital marketing and influencer marketing to really connect with those shoppers who are looking to buy things online, looking to ship, and all of that. Just to start, to give a sense of why we see this, we have a lot of data already. We see that the back-to-school sales went up by $20 billion year over year, 2020 compared to 2019. And we see this as a shift in consumer habits. what that means is we really do want to be thinking about how we use influencers in any season. So we're thinking about the holidays. Let's think about the holidays that are right around the corner. We have Halloween coming. That's great. So this is some content that we actually put out here at Upfluence with one of our clients for Lyle's Golden Syrup. And we're seeing that it is getting eaten up for, sorry, pun intended, but by people. Tons of impressions, lots of creator collaborations, engagements, and lots of content that is actually saved. And what matters is this sense of the content being genuine and good for the brand, right? And so you can see some examples over here that we did. We're also looking at what the big companies are doing. Right? When you look at Nordstrom's, they're asking influencers to create curated lists so that people can choose and help people buy things that will matter. That was a big piece of content that they put out last year. We're curious to see what they're going to be doing for this year's holiday season. Amazon is working harder and harder on partnerships with influencers. They want to drive people to, once again, really be able to project their style, their ideas onto the content so that it becomes really clingy and really sticky content. Now, we have a couple of examples of what some of the smarter influencer marketing companies are doing for this year. So Kate, this one is for RGI Gives Back. Can you give us a little sense about what the plan is here?
Yeah, so RGI Home is a home decor company. They sell products primarily in TJ Maxx and Home Goods, but they are really focused on their philanthropy efforts, and they always have been. So when we were kind of coming up with ideas on, what should we do for RGI Home for a fall campaign, we didn't want it to so much be centered around the products per se. We really wanted to put more focus on giving back during the holidays, since that's so important to them, and it's really a part of their brand philosophy. So this is a really cool campaign because it is going to be driving engagement, which is something they're looking for, and they're going to be actually donating $1 for every like on their post to their dedicated charity of choice, which is not figured out yet, but we will have that done soon. So it's really cool. It's kind of a like and share for a cause. There's elements for users to like the campaign. If they reshare it in their stories, RGI will match the dollar amount and donate that to their charity of choice. As far as influencer goes and how we bring those into the campaign, we're really focusing on partnering with both micro influencers and larger influencers. So we are going to be dedicating some product trade collaborations to this, as well as paid components. So we're going to do a bit of a hybrid there. And this is really going to be partnering with influencers who are also passionate about giving back. And really the whole goal is to talk about giving back during the holidays and how important that is. So we're going to be, working with influencers who are passionate about giving back, who are passionate about charity, and they're going to be helping us promote the campaign. They're also going to be showcasing our products in their posts and just kind of talking a little bit about RGI's mission in, supporting local communities and things like that. And again, kind of driving back the giving back theme of the holidays, especially right now when people have been struggling through COVID and different things like that. So we're going to be really aligning with influencers who feel passionate about giving back and supporting their local communities.
Yeah, and Selena, I think this goes to another trend that we've seen, which is that it used to be all Black Friday, Black Friday, Black Friday. Then it became all Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And this year especially, we're hearing a lot of conversation around Giving Tuesday. Do you have any clients that have come to you and spoken to you about that?
Yeah, so we have clients that are interested in Giving Tuesday for sure. And with this campaign, we are going to be running it for several weeks, but it will overlap with Giving Tuesday. So we will most likely be doing kind of a larger post that day, probably sharing some sort of exciting news as how much money we've raised so far to give back. So we're excited to kind of incorporate that kind of national day, I guess you could call it, or holiday, into this larger campaign. We've really tried to focus these campaigns on being longer in length versus a quick 2-day campaign
Mhm.
or giveaway or something like that. Again, we want to really focus it back on the mission of the brand, which is to talk about how important it is to them to give back, but to also help others do the same.
Okay. And Selena, we've seen that here at Upfluence, right? We've had some brands that are really interested in Giving Tuesday or a Small Business Saturday and using that as sort of a linchpin.
Yeah. It's interesting. We've actually had a significant increase in the number of nonprofits that we've worked with, but it's not just them who hold on to giving back and all these different holidays that are coming up that work towards that. It's also various brands because now people care so much about what the brand is doing behind the scenes, right? So it's not just, oh, I really like this necklace. People want to know where it's being sourced from, right? People want to know that they're giving back to different communities. So I think, having a campaign that's towards a cause is something that, like and share. It's simple, it's easy. You almost feel obligated to do it. It gets people interested and increases those engagements, overall brand awareness, but there can also be some kind of action item that's tied into that that's really beneficial in increasing sales over time. So maybe having some kind of competition tied into that where the influencer who gets the most likes, they receive some sort of prize. This is really intriguing for the influencers too.
Okay. And then, we also have holiday campaigns that are focused on being educational. So Kate, can you give us a sense of what Glam Beads is working on here?
Yeah, so again, kind of focusing back on, or not so much focusing on it, but we're getting away from just reaching out to influencers. Hey, can you post our products and talk about our brand? We're really trying to come up with unique strategic ideas to help really elevate the brand's presence online. So with Glam Beads, we decided to kind of take an educational kind of standpoint on this campaign. So this campaign is all about embracing your hair no matter how it looks. So this is really about bringing the history and the culture of hair and braids and beads and how we got to today with everything to do with beads and hair, and kind of a look through culture, bringing people, through the history of hair, beads, and educating them on that. So we're excited that this is more of a content based campaign, although we will be utilizing influencers. So we're really excited about that as well. So while the campaign as a whole is really to educate people on the culture and the background and the history of hair and beads, we will be working with influencers. So we will be finding and working with influencers who really are passionate about their roots and their culture. So it's really finding those influencers who want to embrace their true selves. This isn't a campaign about, a perfect picture or showing the beads in their hair and talking about the beads. It's really finding influencers who are interested in embracing who they are and really helping us, the brand, drive home that message of how history and culture has shaped Glam Beads as a whole.
Yeah, and I think there are two really important points that you're bringing up, Kate. The first is authenticity, and the second is relationships. And Selena, can you sort of give some context on, we talk about it here at Upfluence as the, moving from the shout out to that deeper relationship with influencers. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so this is kind of even just going back to the previous example that we talked about. Brands are more than just their products, right? They have this whole message that they want to relay and educate people on, so that when there's a whole 10 different brands in front of you, you feel a connection to one specific, right? Because I know I go through Instagram constantly every day and I get all these ads popping up, which one's going to stand out, one that I feel a connection with. And to have an influencer who actually understands that history or has that background, I think, finding niche influencers are really important. So, for this campaign inspired by Glam Beads, they're not going to just find any hair tutorial or beauty influencer or lifestyle influencer. You might look more specifically into people who are, hairstylists, or they're understanding different cultural movements, and they can tie that back into their message and have a connection with the brand.
Okay. So now, we are talking about the holiday season. And one thing that we get asked a lot about is when should I start? Right. And the answer that I always give is, well, start now or start like, a little bit ago. But we want to sort of go over some of the things you need to think about in terms of creating that holiday campaign so that you can get the content out at the time that you want. So, Selena, you created this holiday promotion timeline roadmap idea. Can you just talk us through some of the things that people need to be thinking about as they're creating a holiday campaign?
Yeah. So, sometimes people think, okay, a campaign's only going to take me a week. That's not true. There's a lot of preparation that goes into this, right? So, you always want to start off with defining your strategy and take the time to do your research, right? What are your competitors doing? What products are you currently selling that do really well? Or figure out what your main objectives are, because this can impact the way in which you work with influencers, right? So I would typically take about a week to do that. And then by the time you define...
And actually, can I just stop you for 1 second? Because Kate, you said something really interesting before, where you were talking not only defining the strategy, but also how does it marry into the overarching strategy, the overarching digital strategy, the overarching content strategy for the brand. You need to make sure that your influencer marketing campaign is pulling in the same direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, timing is probably one of the hardest things, I think, when it comes to campaigns and really making sure all the pieces are coming into place, especially influencer marketing pieces. Like Selena said, a lot of people might think, oh, I can throw a campaign together in a week and, we'll be fine. And in reality, it's a very lengthy process, from strategy to bringing that strategy to the client for their approval, to talking about, to sourcing out the influencers, to reaching out to them, to waiting to hear back, to getting to the client to send the products or whatever it is. There's a lot of moving pieces. So you really have to get ahead of that. Months ahead of that, not weeks. Your creative department or your graphic designer, whoever is working on the campaign graphics, they're going to need time. So it's really important to be, as ahead as possible. And also with influencers, you really have to think about, how are they going to work this into their content as well? It's not just about working into the brand's content, but is this going to fit into their timeline, and what else are they going to be talking about around these posts? So there's a lot of moving pieces, but if you're organized and you stay ahead of it each season, the campaigns can flow really nicely into the rest of your content.
Yeah, and I think to add on to that, these influencers, especially the top tier, if you want to work with the big guys, you have to go to them ahead of time. They have a certain schedule of when they're releasing content. They take those pictures not the day before. They take those pictures months ahead, right, that they're going to post on their certain feed to be aesthetically pleasing and to match their certain pattern that they have going. And so if you want to be part of that, you need to make sure you give them enough notice. Also consider that, maybe some people aren't going to be able to agree to the timeline that you need them to, or they're going to ask for too much, or whatever the circumstance is. So you're going to have to contact, I would say we typically do a rule of thumb, 10 times the number that you actually want to work with. So even if you take like a small number of 10, 15 influencers, that's 100, 150 influencers that you're then contacting, right? So I think be mindful of that. There are ways to automate this and be efficient with it while still keeping it personalized. Like Upfluence software, we have a workflow tool. It guides you through the process. It allows you to set up things ahead of time. But make sure those are in place. And then also, that negotiation back and forth. People don't, Kate, you would probably agree with us. We love when people respond and they say, yeah, I'll do that. And this is great. And I'm excited and I'll begin immediately. That is the outlier. Usually people are going to be a bit of a pain, and they're like, any smart person, they're going to try to ask for a little more, negotiate the terms. And so take, some time, factor in some time for that. And also, before they begin to actually post, I would recommend any e-commerce brand. Upfluence actually has a live capture tool, which whenever someone visits your site and you have, say, like a pop-up, right, on your typical e-commerce, I go to Nike.com right now, I guarantee they have some kind of pop-up, right? And I fill out my email and get my discount. Well, the live capture is a similar idea, but what it's also doing is capturing their handles. So then when someone visits your site, we not only know their email, but now we have all of this social media data. Set this live capture up before your campaign starts. It'll allow you to see what people are coming in through that live capture before the campaign starts, as it begins, and as it progresses. So as those posts come in, say you have posts starting the week before Black Friday, in preparation leading up to, see what's going on, have them post multiple times during the week. The more people post, the more likely people are going to actually convert, right? So you see it once, you're in Dunkin' Donuts line to get your coffee, you don't have time to actually go purchase, but you see it the second time while you're watching Netflix and you're like, oh my God, I have to do this before I forget. So keep all these things in mind. I would say, at least 2 months for an entire campaign to run start to finish. But that is you really, really dedicating yourself and putting in the time for this project.
Right. And it also, we have a timeline that we just put together for you. And this is the aggressive timeline. So basically the story is, if you want to be doing something for the holiday season, now's the right time. Ideally, you've created those relationships ahead of time, so it's more of a reactivating, and we want to talk about that as well. So there are ways that we can do it a little faster, but don't think it's easy. It requires you to pay attention and do what you need to do. Okay, so let's take a moment. Let's take a step back, because we've spoken about timelines. We've talked about content. I would love to know from you, Kate, when you're looking at creating a new campaign, what are the types of things that you think about to find your best influential partners? So we have a slide here of some of the partners that you've worked with in the past.
Yes.
What sort of goes into why what your decision-making process?
Yeah, so here at Social Styles, we take a very, I would say, a holistic approach to influencer marketing. Now, we love Upfluence, and Upfluence really supports what we are trying to do as well. So, first, before we do anything as far as finding the influencer or determining keywords to use when finding those influencers in Upfluence, we really have to understand internally, who the target market is. So if our client is not 100% sure, we like to work on that prior to even starting any sort of influencer outreach. Because essentially, if you're reaching out to a blanket number of people and you have no strategy, that's not going to amount to anything special for your client. So we always like to really focus on who's our target market, where are they hanging out, and how do we find them? Who are these types of influencers that the brand does want to align themselves with? From there, we really try to establish specific keywords in Upfluence that will compile a list of well-rounded influencers for us to choose from. From there, for Social Styles, our biggest concern is not number of followers. Typically, we really focus on quality engagement. So we go through our list when we are sourcing influencers in Upfluence. We click on profiles, we read comments. We want to see that people are genuinely engaging with them and not just leaving generic comments. We don't really care about, this post had 1,000 likes if it got 2 comments. So to our clients, it's really important to find influencers that have a genuine following, people that really, follow them and are communicating with them on a very real level. So you'll see with some of these examples, as far as influencers that we've worked with for our brands, some of these influencers are considered micro influencers. City Chic Living is a bit larger. You'll see that 2 of these posts were video content, which is also something that we have been pushing pretty hard with our influencer collaboration, since video is such a I shouldn't say up and coming because it's been very popular, but it's only becoming more and more popular, especially in the influencer space. And of course, quality. We always look for quality of content, quality of imagery, quality of video. When I say quality of imagery, it doesn't necessarily have to be a professional image, but we look for, bright imagery, vibrant imagery. We look for video content that is creative and unique. But again, here at Social Styles, we like to focus on genuine engagement and finding those influencers that have a true following.
Okay, no, that makes a lot of sense. Selena, do you want to talk about some of the things that we think about here at Upfluence in terms of finding those specific influencers? We'll go in terms of how. I think you're on mute, Selena.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So I think Kate made a really good point in the beginning that, you could run a campaign that you think is the best campaign you've ever run, but it needs to meet the standards of your client. You need to know, what your client's objectives are, who are they looking to target. If they don't know who they want to target, we could do something going back to that live capture tool we have, right? Looking into who's already visiting their site, or who's within their existing network, maybe who's following them, right, on social media. I know everyone's trying to grow their social media page, right? And a lot of brands have like 10,000 plus followers. Who are those people that are interested? You might find that you thought you were catering towards mommy bloggers, but you're actually reaching a lot of college students, right? And so with our live capture tool, you actually have all the social media data. So say, using Nike again, Nike uses the live capture, 10,000 people sign up to get that discount code today. We'll then be able to see, did 9,000 of those 10,000 have Instagram? Are they on YouTube? Where are they present? Do they have a lot of followers? What are they posting about? And, what's the topics, or where are the images? And so then you can really learn about who your existing customers are. I think your customers are the absolute best ambassadors. They are already fans of your brand. They know the value. You don't have to prove it. And, these people are happy to do long-term partnerships, which are the best partnerships, right? You don't want someone who's just doing a one-off. You want someone who, they post for a protein shake company. They're going to show the results over a 3-month period, right? It's not just this was yummy for today's workout. So I really think tapping into your existing networks, nurturing those relationships, those are really good influencers to partner with. Of course, you can still filter that. Like Kate said, sometimes those micros are really key because there's less media waste. They're really niche. They have a highly engaged, tight-knit community who actually comments back and forth when they post. So I would say tap into your customers, your existing network, and focus on those people who have a niche community who are tight-knit.
Yeah. And the one thing I do want to add to all of this, right, is make sure you find influencers really care about their own brand. They think about their brand a lot. And you are going to really save yourself a lot of time if you reach out to people who are already in alignment with your brand in one way or another. Because an influencer likes money. They do. Don't get me wrong. But they also like working with the brands that they respect and that they like, especially as we're talking before about doing giving campaigns or things like that. Getting that influencer alignment with the brand is huge. And one of the best ways to do that is to find people who are already in the brand's orbit, as Selena was talking about. But you can also find some people who should be in the brand's orbit, but they don't know it yet. And that's why we also believe in being able to do the searches we do. Okay. So, Selena, we have this slide here on the snowball effect. And you sort of talked about this a little bit, and I know we've kind of talked about this, but one of the ideas that we have here at Upfluence is on taking your followers, taking the people that already love your brand, having them create content that drives new people to like your brand, and then leveraging those people. Can you talk through sort of the process behind that a little bit?
Yeah, and so the snowball effect, I think it's very straightforward, right? And it's obvious, but it's not something we take advantage of right now. And I think this is really the direction in which influencer marketing will go. All these e-commerce brands, anytime you run an influencer campaign for an e-commerce brand, the ultimate goal is to drive traffic and drive sales, always. So whether you're using Instagram influencers with a swipe up link to go to that point of purchase, or you have a YouTube video with a link in the description, that video, that influencer is now bringing a ton of people into your site, right? New people. And I feel almost everyone has social media today, right? So if these people are visiting your site, the chances are you have influential customers now, right? You have a ton of traffic coming in, they're influential customers, and if you are able to capture them and take advantage immediately of that relationship, so maybe just give them a discount code and say, hey, thanks for coming to the site today. We looked at your Instagram page, we love what you're doing there. We think this would fit really well with what you've been doing lately, right? You might be really interested in this product. We can learn so much about people who are in your network, and then we can have them become ambassadors, and then it starts all over, right? Once they become an ambassador, they're posting for you, they're driving their followers to your site, and some of their followers are also going to be influential. So it just goes around and around, and then eventually you're really focused, instead of focusing on just awareness and getting engagements, it's more about retention and customer lifetime value.
Okay, no, that makes a lot of sense. So I wanted to take a moment, right? So we're in 2020. We've almost made it through 2020. It's a bit of a miracle, given all the different things that have come at us. But I want to take a moment and think, if we were having this conversation in October of 2021, what are some of the trends that we would be paying attention to? What do we think is going to keep increasing? What do we think might not be as important? And things like that. So Kate, I'd love to hear from you what sort of trends you see for 2021.
Yeah, we certainly think that we are going to continue to see that shift towards long-term partnerships. I think Selena said something about, or it might have been you, Paul, said, we're not looking for the one-off, collaborations anymore. And this is something that we've been seeing, and I think it'll become even more of a kind of driving factor in 2021. I think influencers are less interested in doing one-off collaborations. I think they're more interested in really representing brands and products that they truly use and that they feel comfortable promoting to their following. I think consumers are really smart nowadays. I think that they can sniff out a one-off paid collaboration very quickly. I know that I can, and that's a turnoff for me. So if I'm following an influencer that I feel like is just getting paid to post about a product, and the next day they're posting about something completely different or a different similar brand, that's a turnoff for me. So what we're focusing on here at Social Styles is building those long-term relationships, especially heading into 2021. More of a brand ambassadorship, I guess you could call it, where you'd be working with an influencer more than, once. Maybe it's a couple times a month, maybe it's a 3-month agreement, maybe it's a 6-month, whatever it is. I think it's really all going to come down to building relationships in 2021. You're getting away from the simple shout out, and you're really kind of becoming a part of that influencer's world and building, a lasting relationship. And this is something that we're putting in our messaging right now. When we are reaching out to influencers, we are letting them know, we're not looking for one-off collaborations. We truly, want to align ourselves with influencers that support the brand, support the products, and are interested in working with us, not necessarily forever, but longer than one post. We really want to kind of drive home that beneficial relationship. So I think that's going to become really big in 2021. Again, I think consumers are smart. They don't want to see the one-off collaborations anymore. And I think that those do not do as well anymore, because essentially if you have an influencer posting about, let's say, a glass water bottle that you're selling, if they post about it once, what kind of ROI are you going to get from that as the brand? But if they're posting about it 3 times a a month and talking about how this is their favorite water bottle that they're using throughout their day, and they're showcasing how they're using it in different ways, and consumers and followers of that influencer continue to see that water bottle brand in their feed, people are going to believe that that is something that that influencer truly does love and use. That's more powerful than a one-off collaboration. So that's kind of the direction I think that influencer marketing is going to take in 2021. I think it's going to continue in that direction. And I think that's beneficial for both the influencer and the brand for sure.
And I want to just follow up on that because I think it's extremely important, because I think everybody is saying, kind of wants to go in the same direction, right? Like, let's create those deeper relationships. As a brand, as an agency, do you have any recommendations about how that's a different ask for those influencers than the shout out ask or the one-off ask that people might be used to?
Yeah, so in our outreach verbiage, we have unique verbiage that we craft, that we utilize in our Upfluence mailings for all of our clients. So we don't have a blanket message that we copy and paste. We're really crafting the outreach message to be specific to the brand and to also attract, the right influencers. So we always like to be really upfront and clear in our messages. We don't like to leave things vague, because we have found when you leave them vague with influencers, you can be doing a lot of back and forth communicating for nothing. So we always like to be very upfront, letting them know, this is what we're looking for. This is why we think you're a good fit. And we also like to put a lot of focus on the influencer. So really saying, we think that this would be beneficial to you because XYZ, or, we think that this would be a great collaboration to help you with XYZ. So instead of making it all about us and making it about the brand, we like to put the focus back on the influencer, because again, influencers, they like to talk about themselves. They like to share their lives. And so while we are asking them to help us spread awareness or whatever our goals are, we want to make sure that they're aware that we support them and what they're doing as well.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's hugely important. And I'm glad you brought that up, which is put yourself in the shoes of the people you're reaching out to. They are creators. They are creative. They have created a brand for themselves. They are running their own micro business, or in some cases, a full-on business. And they have wants and needs about what they want. And if you want to have a relationship with them, it's beneficial to understand what those are and to craft your messaging toward that. So, Selena, where do you see influencer marketing heading in 2021?
I think it's kind of a combination of what you guys said, where there's this brand alignment. These influencers have their own branding themselves, and there's going to be longer term partnerships, which I think will actually lean more towards affiliate marketing. I think this commission based structure to have long term partnership over time and earn commissions off of the sales they generate is going to be beneficial for both. And I think a lot of different social networks, whether it's Instagram or whether it's up and coming ones that we haven't even heard of yet, there's going to be the ability to make your content shoppable. I think that's what's coming up in 2021, especially with all these sales now being driven over to social media or online. And I think short form video content will lend itself really well for these kind of partnerships. We already see that. We actually, Upfluence came out with this blog article recently about online shopping for the holidays, and we found nearly 2/3 of shoppers say that videos have inspired their purchase online. And I think that's huge, right? This short form video still captures your attention. You're not watching something for 10 minutes, but it's a creative concept. It's moving, it's interactive. And it's not just a simple image that you're clicking and then you don't remember what you just liked, 10 likes ago, right? You sit there and you watch it and you take the time to hear them explain something. So I think short form video content, I think affiliate marketing, and I think all these social networks will really lend themselves to those kind of partnerships through shoppable content.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I want to throw in a couple. One of which is always staying ahead of where the platforms are moving. So as we've been doing influencer marketing here at Upfluence for the last 8 years, where 8 years ago, if you were doing influencer marketing, you were doing it on blogs, maybe on Facebook fan pages. Right now, the dominant platforms would be Instagram and YouTube, but coming on really strong is TikTok. And I'm not sure that everyone has figured out the TikTok methodology yet, but it is extremely sticky content. People love it. People are having fun on it. Upfluence has actually invested quite a bit in our TikTok database. It's now, I think, our second largest group after Instagram, or maybe third after YouTube. So I think that's important. One other thing, which Selena has talked about quite a bit, is this idea of everybody becomes an influencer. So we're in the age of we're sort of in the world now where everyone's like, you know what, I don't really believe in these giant influencers as being able to push things quite as well. I really want those micro influencers because they're bringing that authenticity, right? They're bringing the message out. People are really excited to talk to them because they're so authentic. So however you choose to define micro influencer, might be less than 25,000 followers, might be less than 10,000 followers. But there's a group underneath that, which is everybody who's on this call. Everybody who's on social media has an influential group, right? There's a group of people who are listening to you. And so I think one of the big trends that we're going to start to keep seeing, and it goes with what Selena was talking about in terms of affiliation and things like that. If you have 1,000 followers, but those 1,000 followers will really care what you say, brands are going to want to work with you. And we need to make sure that we build out the tools and the understanding so that we can make real sense of that as time goes by. So those are my two big trends. Number one is TikTok. I say this as the non-millennial who is going on TikTok and just being like, oh, this is funny. And I'm having fun and I enjoy it. So enjoy it. Okay, I know we have a bunch of questions in the chat, so I wanted to get to them. But are there any other trends that we want to hit on before we go to Q&A? If not, it's okay. All right, so I do have, and I want to give a shout out to Adam, who's been helping us in the chat and answering some of the questions. I have a couple more questions that we were going to get to as time goes by. So Chloe Thomas asked, do we have to give a prize away? Because we're working with a nonprofit and they aren't looking to give money or other devices away. And Kate, I think this goes to you. It was sort of around the RGI content. So if somebody's doing a campaign for good, do they have to be compensating influencers?
Well, it's going to be hard finding. You have to give an influencer something. So they're not. Essentially, it's like a business transaction when you're working with an influencer. So if you are a nonprofit, let's say, and you don't have a physical product to gift them, which even if you did, a lot of influencers are not doing product trades anymore, unfortunately. There has to be something that you're giving them. Otherwise, what's in it for them? You have to think, maybe you'd get an influencer that is really interested in your nonprofit that just wants to support you. That would be rare and that would be amazing, but that would be rare. So you have to have something, you have to have something where you're either going to be featuring them on your account, promoting them somehow, gifting them something, compensating them with money. Like there has to be something, or else you're asking them to put in work and prepare posts and, take their time for nothing. So you really have to look at it more like a business transaction, I guess. Of course, you want to find people that support your nonprofit and that believe in it. That's the number one most important thing. But most influencers nowadays are not going to do anything for free or without any sort of a benefit for them.
And I know that we've had some success in the nonprofit space getting people to do it. I think, Selena, can we talk about some of the ways that we've put those messaging in front of influencers for nonprofit things? I know we've worked with I'm not sure which ones I should talk about. So, Selena, can you give us a sense of some of the things that we've done to get people interested?
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, we've had a huge influx of nonprofits. I think, everyone during a time when so much is going on, whether it's COVID or a movement or in U.S. California wildfires, right? Like there's so many things going on. People want to give back, and so we've had a lot of campaigns come up. It's like Kate said, it's not the easiest to find people who are just going to say, you know what, out of the good of my heart, I will take the time to do this. There are people, though, out there that will do that. I think having the right tools will help you find those rarities. So, our software, we don't just categorize influencers. You would be able to go in and say, okay, I'm looking for someone who has already mentioned the Red Cross. I am looking for someone who has talked about Black Lives Matter, right? Or they mention something that ties into a certain cause that relates back to your message, right? So you look for these keywords that they've mentioned, and then you go in and tell them, relay them the message that you want to convey, and offer to show them as the face of this initiative, right? That promotion where you say, hey, we want to feature you in our stories, and we want to add you to our social media page, and we already have 5 million followers, so this could gain you a lot of followers as well and get you a whole new customer or network, right? So I think that is very beneficial, and we've found that kind of cross promotion helpful in finding influencers to agree to projects without having to have a specific budget, a specific payout.
And the last thing that I actually think about the giving side goes back to something that Kate was talking about before, which is put yourself in the shoes of the influencer for a second. Asking them to create a whole post might be too much to do for nothing, but I can only look at what people are putting out there about voting right now. Voting is a very nonpartisan idea. You have Vote.org, you have Vote America. They have pieces of content that they're asking influencers to share. That is a significantly smaller, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a smaller barrier to entry. So if you have a specific thing, maybe there's an event that you want people to promote, maybe you're fundraising or something like that, and you create all that content, and the ask is, could you share this for us? Or could you be part of our influencer team? And you could even give them a title of some sort. Sometimes that could be interesting as well. But that's very interesting. Okay. Devin Metcalf asks, so it seems that we had Misguided, which was a popular fashion brand, tweeted a similar campaign to RGI, and it backfired a little bit, with consumers saying they were using mental health for retweets. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm curious. What is the line for brands to consider with some of these campaigns, right? How do you make sure that there's not that backlash effect? Because of course, no brand wants that.
Yeah. Well, I can speak to the RGI campaign. We are not pushing any sort of sales agenda in any of the posts. So I think where a lot of brands will fall short with a sort of a giving back campaign would be, maybe they have this great idea to give back, and they, craft up all these posts, and then at the bottom of the post it says link in bio to shop our collection. That's tacky. You don't want to do that. You don't want to bring, that's not the goal of the campaign. And if it is, you're going to get the backlash on that. So again, at least with RGI, their goal is to raise money for the charity of their choice. That's the goal. The goal is not to gain sales. The goal is not to push people to their website. It's not about exploiting charity or anything like that. It's literally to raise money for the organization of their choice. Again, I think some brands, they always are thinking sales conversions in their head. So they're always going to be adding that element to their posts. And that could get you into a sticky situation if it was a campaign, like a giving back campaign or something like that. Because again, it comes off kind of selfish.
Right. So you want to make sure that when you're giving back, you're just giving back as much as possible. Not trying, obviously you're trying to make you're trying to project into the community positives about the brand. That's fine. But if it's, hey, if you retweet this and buy this, we'll give money, it's a little more self-serving.
Exactly. You want to stay away from the self-serving as much as possible, because you'll have a lot of other opportunities to push sales, to push conversions, to talk about you, to talk about your products, to talk about your brand. If giving back is important and it's an important part of your brand philosophy, then focus on that and focus on that alone.
Okay.
And I think this kind of ties back to when we were talking about timeline and, the first and foremost, you have to define a strategy. And a big part of creating your strategy is understanding what are your objectives, right? Because if Kate's client came to her and said, I want to drive sales, well, this campaign, it kind of falls into like getting that backlash because you really
Yeah,
need to
maybe we
drive
do
sales.
something for Small Business Saturday, not for Giving Tuesday, if it's to drive
Yeah.
sales.
So really understanding what are your main objectives, and so if it's something like raise brand awareness and put out that positivity towards this our brand image, then something like giving back is great. Down the road it will be beneficial for you because people now have that thought in their mind when the brand name comes up, right? So in 2 months from then, someone is now actually trying to push sales. They'll be like, oh yeah, wasn't that the brand that ended up raising $500,000 for the Red Cross? Oh, you know what? I wonder if they're still doing that. Let me look into this,
Mhm.
right? And so it piques their interest a little more.
But then again, we do also see, so not from the backlash side, but Amazon has been raising money for years and years with their smile.amazon.com campaign, which is
Right.
entirely tied to sales as well, right? So brands, you can walk on that line a little bit, but if you are worried about the backlash, keep it as far apart as possible. Okay, we have a question from Ivan who asks, can you suggest some kinds of activations with influencers besides seeding the product or sampling, guest shifts or lotteries, for instance, for an alcohol brand? So I want to take this one because I have a really good I like my answer, which is that there's basically only 4 ways you can compensate an influencer, and if you can think of a 5th one, please let us know. It will revolutionize the industry. But it's basically you can pay them for the posts they do, you can do affiliation with them, you can sample with them, or if it's not 2020, you can do events, which are great. So for an alcohol brand, I would always think about events and things like that. And then you can do combinations amongst them, right? Alcohol is interesting, especially here in the United States. You have to be careful about your legal drinking age of your followers, things like that. Our platform actually keeps track of that so that you can be above 71.6% legal drinking age, so you know which influencers on our platform are good to post content on your behalf. But are there other things that are out there that people are getting creative with? Lotteries can be interesting, I guess. But Kate, do you have any other thoughts besides the sort of the tried and true? If not,
No, not really. And we don't have any similar clients to like an alcohol brand per se. So, no, I don't really have anything to input on this one.
Selena, you got anything that would be interesting?
You.
Go for it.
Actually,
I like it.
I think this applies to many companies, and it's not just alcohol brands, but it does work for them. Is I see a lot of influencers collaborating with brands on product lines. So
That's true.
it's kind of like that a spin on affiliation where you say this is a long-term partner. This is going to benefit you because now you have your own product that you really care about. You put in the time and effort, and you're going to earn commission off these sales over time. We're in this together, so they're loyal. But they also have their face on a product, which is really difficult. For an influencer, take an alcohol brand, they're not going to put out, unless you're like Bethany Frankel and come out with a Skinny Girl Margarita. It's really difficult. She can do that because she's Bethany Frankel. A cocktail influencer on YouTube doesn't necessarily have the means to do that. So I think some kind of collaboration is interesting spin and intriguing.
Well, and we actually do have a really good example of a celebrity influencer who just, I think, Ryan Reynolds just sold his share of his brand for hundreds of millions of dollars. So just to give a sense, and we have seen that with other types of brands where we have influencers creating their own fashion lines with companies, influencers creating their own makeup lines, their own hair care products. So perfumes, places where those small changes are fairly easy to do on the brand side. That could be a really interesting thing, and it's a higher higher value, but it does require a lot more work to get it done. Okay. Mohammed asks, what's the best practice to inject an influencer marketing delivery channel within an affiliate network? So I think if I'm understanding the question right, if you already have an affiliate network set up, how do you think about adding influencers into that? So Selena, why don't I go to you first on this one? You're a brand, you're an e-commerce brand, you already have hundreds of affiliates. How do you add in influencer marketing into that channel in a way that's going to work?
Yeah, I think this is interesting because there's two issues here, right? It's how do we find more people? We take on very big projects sometimes where we're like, oh my God, we found 3,000 people. How do we find 2,000 more, right? Like at some point it becomes more difficult as you go on to find more influencers, but also how do you be efficient with your time? And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think, your own existing network is a great place to look. Paul, you talked about this. Everyone has social media today. A lot of people, it's not difficult to have over 1,000 followers. And so being able to tap into that network, I think it really helps grow your affiliate group of affiliates pretty easily, and you can kind of automate it, right? If you have something where people are coming to your site and they're getting that promo code by giving you their handle, it's very simple for them to provide that, and then you can automatically analyze all their social media, and it's now an inbound. Influencers are coming to you. You can build your affiliate network. It's simple.
Okay. And Kate, do you want to add something on adding influencers into an already existing affiliate network, or?
No, we don't do a ton with affiliate networks, so I don't want to kind of speak on something I'm not super experienced at myself. So I'm going to pass on that one.
Not a problem. Okay, and you know what? We are running out of time, but I think I have a couple more questions. So Brooke asked, how do holiday campaigns differ from a retail brand to an e-commerce brand? So if you have somebody who wants to do a holiday campaign for a brick and mortar store, how is that different? An influencer marketing for retail versus e-commerce. I want to kind of answer this one because I think if you're a retail store and you're still alive at this point in 2020, you're an e-commerce brand. You're an e-commerce brand with some leftover leases. The stores that are out there are surviving based on their e-commerce work. I think they will be coming back, but for right now, I think most stores really need to be thinking about how they drive traffic to their website, how they drive sales from their website, how they drive awareness on the digital space. And a lot of the same techniques are going to drive people to go into the store. There's no people, if I really want to if I see some content about Target and I want to go to Target, I'll go to Target, but I may also just buy it from Target.com. So as the brand, I would, there was this moment where in the design world, we went from computer first to mobile first. I think the same sorts of thing is happening in the retail space where we're going from brick and mortar first to e-commerce first. And the retail is going to be an extension of the e-commerce. And so I think that's a really smart way to think about that. Okay, last question is from Paula. And she asks, is it good for luxury brands to work with micro-influencers?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
I say yes specifically because if you take, any big influencer, right? Kim Kardashian, like top of mind, right? Talk about someone who promotes luxury brands and has tons of followers. There's media waste involved there. She's going to be very, very expensive to work with. And she's going to promote to people like me who, I'm not going to go buy 5 things off of Gucci today, right? But if I'm, someone who is more affluent, I follow specific accounts that only have say 15,000 followers, I have more of a connection with that kind of person, right? And they reach a more specific audience. So I think working with micro influencers, there are tight knit communities. There's less media waste. It's much more targeted. So I think that's the way to go when it comes to luxury.
Okay. Kate, last word. Micro influencers for luxury brands.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people make the connection that micro influencers are maybe not as popular because they don't have as many followers. So would you really, would a luxury brand want to align themselves with them? But I think that's actually completely untrue. I think there's micro influencers in all different spaces. There's micro influencers, who are affluent. It's a diverse community of people. And I always go back to, micro influencers tend to have a more authentic and connected following. So if that's important to your brand, whether you have a massive luxury brand or, a small mom and pop e-commerce brand, they're going to get, true engagement. It's not about the likes. It's not about the follows. It's not about the vanity of the account. So I think, it's micro influencers can work for any sort of brand as long as you're working with the right ones in your niche.
Okay. Well, I want to finish today by thanking the people who have joined me today. So Kate and Selena, thank you so much for joining us today. If you're interested and you want to learn more about what we do here at Upfluence, please, I think we're going to put a link in the chat as well. But you can book some times with one of our experts here, and we can walk you through sort of how we're thinking about some of these things. We're also going to put a couple of links in the chat to some of the content that we have around the holidays and other content that are around our entire blog, and webinars, past webinars you'll be able to find as well. So we'll put links to that. But I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and I wish you all a wonderful holiday season. And be safe. Thank you so much. Bye.